Welcome back, CAD 37 surfacing class, CATIA. Today we're going to go over intersections. But before I do, I want to mention something from the last video. Creating projections. In the last video, we learned how to do projections. Let me go to that file real quick. Okay, so in our last video, we projected curves onto surfaces, right? So if we go to projections, we're going to project this line. And our support is the surface. And let's go normal. Okay, so every point will project perpendicular to the surface, the support that we've chosen. Okay, and there it is, right? So I did mention in our last video that we can also project points. Okay, so I forgot to demo that. So let me do the same thing, except this time I'll do it with the point. I'll pick the endpoint from one of these splines. So I just projected the front spline. Let me do the one in the back, but I'll do the endpoint. Okay, so I'm going to project once again. Okay, this time I'm only going to pick the endpoint. And I'm still going to pick the surface. Same support and preview, 3, 2, 1, preview. And you could see it projected onto the surface, perpendicular to the surface. And by the way, if I wanted to project the one on the back side, the other endpoint, I can do more than one. So I can project more than one item. Anytime you see this little bag, think of a little bag of goodies like Halloween. You can add additional geometry or candy, right? So click in this little bag. So now you can see the little bag, right, for this command. Okay, so we already have this projection, this endpoint, right? So to the bag, let me click in here. We can either replace, remove the points, replace it with another one. I'm just going to simply click and add another one and watch it project onto the other side. Let me turn here slightly. So let me pick this endpoint. And I'm going to hit close. You can see I have two vertices selected, the two endpoints of the spline. And preview, and there it is. So you can pick multiple items in the bag. You can see we have two elements. If you need to add, remove, replace, go to the bag. And here it is showing us that it projected the points onto the surface. Okay, so I forgot to mention that you can also project points. And okay, you can also project points onto a curve or an edge. Okay, so I'm going to take this point. I'm going to project it over to this edge. Okay, so this is a curve. Okay, so let me click and space, deselect, go to projection. I'm going to pick that same endpoint that we projected onto the surface earlier, except now I'm going to project it onto this support, the edge. Okay, so my support, instead of a surface or a plane, I'm going to pick this edge. There it is. The support is this edge. I'm going to hit preview, 3, 2, 1, preview. And there it is. See how it's already giving us the point, projecting it onto the edge. And okay. Okay, and there's the point. All right, so how did these points project onto the surface and onto the edge? So if I was to draw a line to show you how it projected the point onto the surface, I'm going to put a line to show you that it projects perpendicular, right, when you pick the normal option. Same thing when we project it over to the edge, the same point up here. So I'm just showing you how it's projected. You don't have to do this part. Cancel. I misclicked. Let me pre-select the point. I'm just showing you how CATIA, or the software, is projecting it. It's basically projecting it to the nearest area of, in this case, the curve here was the closest to the surface, which is a perpendicular line, right? Okay, so now you can see how it's projected. It looks for the nearest point on the curve or the nearest point on the surface, and that's how it projects. Okay, and you can also, once again, project onto another curve. So this time I'm going to project this point onto this line. Oh, cancel. Meant to hit project. project. I'm going to project this endpoint onto this support. Preview. There it is. So it's the shortest distance. That's what it's doing. It's going the shortest distance possible to connect from this endpoint. So let me use the line command to show you how it projects over. It's the shortest distance, right? Between the point we want to project and our support, which is the curve. Okay, same thing here. It's the shortest distance from this endpoint to the curve, and this is the shortest distance from this point onto the surface. Okay, so I had forgotten to demo that in our last video. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just save it. All right, so let's go back to intersections. Okay, so let's go ahead and close projections. And by the way, I'll keep uploading the videos for wireframe, and in our next class session we'll be doing surfacing videos or tutorials. All right, so let's go to creating intersections. Okay, so this is the icon, creating intersections. So let's go ahead and download the file. And once again, if the link I'm sending you doesn't work, so again, I sent you a Word document through your email. Sometimes I have issues uploading onto Canvas, so that's why I also email you the assignments. Okay, so when you copy the link, you may have to try once again Edge or Chrome or Firefox or Internet Explorer. It doesn't seem to work for all of them. It's typically just one. I don't understand the programming behind it, so I'm just trying different things until I get to the links, or I should say the site for the tutorials. All right, so let's go ahead and open up. So it already downloaded. Let's go ahead and open up the file. Okay, so here is our tutorial. Notice we do have a solid. Make sure you are in generative shape design. Okay, if you are in part design, so this is very common. If you were using part design recently, that was the last workbench you used, most likely it'll open up your file in part design, because this file can be moved from part design to surfacing and other workbenches. Okay, so if you are in part design, let's go over to generative shape design. Okay, and you can see it on the upper right corner. It looks like a little lawn chair. Okay, so here we have some surfaces. Let me change the color of this surface. I can directly click on it, right click properties. I just don't want it to be the same color as the solid. Let's make it a tan. Okay, there it is. This is too bright of yellow, so I'm going to right click properties. By the way, I'm always playing with the colors at work. I don't like these colors that are just too bright. It's hard to find details sometimes, so I tend to soften them up. It's just easier on the eye, and it's easier to see lines and points. By the way, notice how the edges are white. So if I go right click properties, so currently the edges are white, so these are the edges, right? I can always change it. Oh, it's not allowing me to change the edges. And I actually forgot how to do that, but I was supposed to be able to go to edges here and pick a different color for the edges. Okay, so I'm just going to close it. I give up. All right, so let's move on. Just forget I brought that up. Let me try it from here though. Right click geoset properties. Here the edges are black, and I can change them from here. But all right, so I'm gonna have to figure that one out. All right, so let's go back to the tutorial. But one thing I do want to mention is this tutorial, the geometry is off. So some of you are gonna, if you're trying this on your own, you're gonna get frustrated trying to figure out why intersection isn't working. And it's because they didn't set up things correctly. And also keep in mind there's some geometry in the background, as you can see. So this is the geometry that they used, whoever made up this tutorial. So whoever took the time to make this is their geometry that they used to create the surfaces and the solid. Notice the solid is in the part body, right? You can see that. Solids will not be in geometric sets. Solids are in part body. So it's okay to model surfaces and solids on the same file. That's what's cool about 3D modeling. Whether it's SolidWorks, CATIA, Unigraphics, Pro-E, you can create surfaces and solids in the same model, and you can go from surfacing workbenches to part design workbenches. And this is referred to as basically hybrid. You can jump between the two different worlds. All right, so let's go to intersection. Okay, so intersection, we're going to be intersecting. Okay, so here's a quick demo or visual where they take this orange line and this blue line and they intersect it, and here is the result. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and in our tutorial, we're going to intersect the surface with the solid. Okay, so let's go ahead and try and intersect the surface with the solid. So we're going to pick the brown surface, in your case is yellow. All right, so let's go to intersect. So here's intersection, it's right below projection. Okay, so intersection. I'm going to click. Okay, so I'm going to intersect the surface with the solid. Okay, so now if I pick the surface on the side, I don't know if it's only going to pick the surface or if it's going to pick the whole solid. If you're not sure, you can always pick it from the tree. See, I can pick the solid from the tree. Let's see what happens if I pick the surface. It seems to be selecting the entire solid. That's what I want. Click, and let's hit preview, see what we get. And there it is. There's the line. You can see the intersection. It's a little hard to see. And okay. Okay, so let me create my own geoset. This is optional. Oh, see how I dropped it here and not at the bottom? It's because this one was defined. This one was underlined when I inserted a new geoset, so it drops it below whichever one was defined. So again, this one was defined. I inserted a geoset and it dropped it here instead of at the bottom of the tree. That's because this one was defined. I can always change the order. I can right click, look for reorder. There it is, reorder children. So I'm going to take this geoset. There it is right there, and watch it drop down as I click on the arrow in 3, 2, 1. There it is. Oh, you blinked. Too late. There it is at the bottom. So I tend to use this a lot when I'm organizing. Again, think of a binder. Okay, you want to be organized because sometimes you need to come back and look for geometry, or somebody has to look at your geometry, or sometimes you take over somebody else's work or they took over your work. It's very common to take over somebody else's work and vice versa. And you want to keep it organized so it's easy for them to follow your geometry. Okay, so let me go properties, and I'm going to change the line types. I want cyan, and I'll make it thicker just so it stands out. And then I'm going to take my intersection that I just created, right? So there's my intersection. So if I want to look for it in the tree, I can always go to this intersection that I just created, right click, and center graph. Show me in the tree where it's at, center graph, and there it is. There's our intersection that we just created. Once again, anytime you create new geometry, it takes on the name of the command. So since we created an intersection, it calls our new geometry intersection 1. If you do another intersection, then that will be called intersection 2, and so on. Okay, so I'm going to left mouse click and drag and drop into my new geoset, my geoset. There it is. cyan, because that's the color I chose for my new geoset. For lines, I chose cyan. Think of your geoset when you change colors for surfaces or edges. Think of your geoset as maybe as a sleeve and a binder, those clear sleeves. And you can pick colors, right? It can be plain transparent, or it can be some colorful red or green or blue plastic sleeve. Okay. All right, so that was intersect. I'm also going to intersect these two surfaces. Okay, so make sure this is defined, my geoset. So let's go ahead and intersect these two surfaces. Hit preview. And I'm not getting a preview for some reason. Oh, I misselected. I meant to select the two surfaces and I accidentally selected the previous intersect. That's okay. Let me go here. So no, this is not my first element. I want my first element to be the tan surface. So I'm going to just replace it. There it is. Notice how it's orange along the periphery. It's letting me know it's selected. And hit preview. And there's my new intersection. Notice it's going to call it intersection 2. And hit OK. And there it is. And again, even though you may be following my videos, my tutorials, you don't have to do all these intersections I'm doing. As long as you do the command at least once or twice in your assignment, you'll get the full credit. You don't have to do all the actions that I'm doing on this video. Okay, I'm going to show you another intersection type. You can also intersect lines or edges with or curves with surfaces. Let me turn off this intersection temporarily. I'm going to turn it off. Okay, so I'm going to intersect this edge with this surface. So you also have that option. Anytime I ask myself, wow, wouldn't it be cool if CATIA could intersect, for example, intersect a line with the surface? And chances are it does. You're just not aware of it. It's like, so I catch myself saying, wouldn't it be cool if CATIA could do, oh, wait a minute, maybe it does. I'm just not aware of it. Okay, so there's a good chance, like 99% chance that yes, it can be done. Just how is it done? All right, so let's intersect. So this time I'm going to intersect the edge with the surface. And the result should be a point. 3, 2, 1, okay. And there's the point. Okay, it's hard to see. Let me go ahead and right-click properties. Change the color. Make it squared. I'll make it yellow. And there's the point, as you can see. So that point is... did I project? Made a mistake. I made a projection. I projected the line onto the surface, which is the result is a point. So I made a mistake. Instead of using intersect, I used project. So yes, it projected the line onto the surface. Since the line is perpendicular, the result is a point. Okay, so let me hide that and redo it again. So that was an accident. Hide it. Okay, learn from my mistakes, right? All right, so let's do intersect, not project. Intersect this edge with this surface and preview. Yep. Okay, so it's just coincident that we get the same result. And let's right click properties. I'm going to change its properties so we can see it better. And there it is. Okay, so that's an intersect. So we're intersecting the edge with the surface, and that's our result. Okay, you can also intersect two lines or two edges in this case. Okay, so I'm going to intersect this edge with this edge. Okay, so let's go ahead and intersect this edge with this one. Okay, notice in the window here, it's telling me, hey, you selected the edge and selected another edge. You may accidentally click on surface, so you may have to go back in here and select the correct geometry. Okay, so let's hit a preview, and it's already creating the intersection, as you can see, and okay. there's the intersection. I'm going to right click properties and give it some color. Okay, so once again, anytime you use the intersect command, any result will be called intersect. So as you can see, we have up to 4 intersects, and there's our intersection. All right, let's go back. So we did the intersect between the solid and the surface. We did the intersect between the two surfaces. And there is a second video, or a second intersect part. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up this one. So we're done with the first intersect cap part. Okay, we're done with that one. Let's open up the next one. So there are 2 CATIA parts in this tutorial. Forgot about that, so let's go ahead and click on it. Okay, and it downloads, and we're going to go ahead and open it. Okay, so let's open the file. Okay, so we're going to do some more intersects. I'm going to window select, so I'm going to left mouse click, window select these lines. I'm just going to make them thicker and brighter. I'm going to choose green. You don't have to do this part. It's just easier to see. All right, so let's do some cool stuff with intersect. Okay, in this demo, they want to show us that even though these 2 lines are not intersecting, it'll still give us a result. So again, these 2 lines are not intersecting, so how can we use the intersect command? Well, what CATIA does, it's doing a few commands in one. It's going to extend this line. It's going to extend this line till they intersect. And that's the result. Okay, so let's go ahead and practice that. Okay, so we're going to take these 2 lines, and we're going to do the intersect command. So let's intersect this line with this one. So what it's going to do is, even though it's not showing it, it's extending this line, extending that line till they intersect. And let's hit preview. And there's the result, as you can see. And okay, let me insert my own geoset. And I sound like a broken record. You don't have to do this part. Okay, so let me give it some color. I'm hoping that you guys get into the habit of feeling comfortable with making changes to color and thicknesses of line weights and etc. I know a lot of the young engineers or interns that I work with, they don't feel comfortable adding color to parts. This is one of the things that I enjoy doing because it makes things pop. When you're trying to show something that's small, like a bolt or a washer on this large assembly, I make the large surfaces soft, dark color. But the little things that are hard to see, like a press fit bushing, a bolt, a hex nut, I make them bright so you don't miss them. Especially compared to the larger parts, these tend to kind of disappear easily in the background, so I make them bright and shiny. All right, so I'll do yellow and squared for the lines, and for my new lines, if I do create any, make them cyan. Okay, so I can now drag and drop that point into my new geoset. Oh, I didn't click right. Left mouse click. There it is. So now it's yellow. Okay, so it's, once again, it extended, even though it doesn't show it's extending, and it intersects. That's one of the cool things about CATIA is that it can, and other softwares, is that it can do multiple commands into one. Sometimes it's a little confusing. To avoid confusion, especially if somebody else opens the file and is, hey, how were they able to intersect these 2 lines if they're not touching? So in a situation like this, I may first extend the lines, which we're going to learn later on, how to extend lines. And then I'll do the intersect command. Okay, so somebody opens your file and they're trying to figure out, hey, how did this come about? They're not aware that CATIA the background extended the lines and intersected. All right, so let's move on. Okay, so now we're going to intersect the surfaces. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, and let me change the color of the surfaces. So I'm going to hit Control key, select the two surfaces, right-click Properties, and I'll make them a dark color. Maybe I can change the edges on their own. Right-click Properties. Oh, so that's how you change the edges. I had to select the edge. Remember earlier I couldn't change, a few minutes ago I couldn't change the color of the edges? That's because I messed up. If I click on the surface, I can change the color of the surface, but if I click on the edge and right-click Properties, then I can change the color of the edges. Okay, so if I want to change the color to white for that edge, if I wanted to make it thicker, apply, and okay. There it is. So that's how you change the color of the edges. Okay, so okay, let's go back. Okay, so back to the lecture at hand. We're going to intersect these two surfaces as shown on the tutorial. Okay, so we're going to intersect these two surfaces. Preview, and there we have it, right? Similar to the other CATIA part that we have opened. All right, so let's go back. Okay, intersect non-coplanar lines. Okay, the first lines that we did intersect, they were lying on the same plane, so they are coplanar. They are lying on this imaginary plane. These are not. Okay, so when they are on the same plane, so these two lines happen to be on the same plane, and it'll extend this one, the blue one, to intersect the green one. Okay, but what happens if the two lines are on different planes? Let's say this one is sitting up higher and the blue is sitting down lower. So what it does is it'll extend the blue line. There's no need to extend the magenta line. And then it'll project. Okay, so the shortest distance between the two lines, it'll project to create the intersect. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so let's do the first one. So these two are on the same plane. As you can see, if I just rotate slightly, you can see they're on the same plane. Actually, all these lines here are on the same plane. The only one that's all by itself is this one. Let me change the color of that one so it stands out on its own. I'll make it magenta. Okay, so these green lines are on the same plane as you can see. Okay, this one is up higher. First, let's intersect this line with this one. Okay. Oh, and it's already extended. Okay, cool. So let's do the easy one first. Intersect these two green lines, which are on the same plane. As you can see, they're on the same plane. And let's intersect. Okay, and there's our intersection. Cool, that was easy. But now let's intersect this one with that one, right? Okay, so let's pick this green one and the magenta. So we're going to intersect this line with the magenta. And we're going to preview. There's no solution. Okay. So it's automatically extending, as you can see. So we do have the option, intersect non-coplanar line segments. Okay, so again, these are not coplanar, they're not on the same plane. So let's force it to intersect. So it's not intersecting them, it's projecting. Okay, so we're going to click on, hey, we want you to intersect these two lines even though they never cross. Hit preview, and there it is. There's the point, the intersection, as you can see. Hit OK. So it auto extends the line. You do have that option. If need to, it'll also auto extend this one. And then it will intersect. So what it's doing is, hey, this point and this point are the closest points, or the shortest distance between the magenta and the green at these 2 points. That's the shortest distance, right? So then it finds an intersection at the halfway point. Okay, so that's how it created this point. I don't think I've ever used this option, but it's good to know it's there, as you can see. Okay, so it found the shortest distance between the magenta and the green. And then it finds the halfway point and gives us an intersection. All right, so we're done with this video. Again, there's no due date. And don't forget to save your file. If you want to put completed at the end or your initials. So I'm going to save it on. Don't save it on your downloads folder. Save it on your desktop or your flash drive. And email it to me through Canvas, or you can send it directly to my email address, or you can respond to one of my class emails. Just make sure you don't respond to everybody, or else everybody's gonna get a copy of your file. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and save. And I need to go back to my other tutorial, the first intersect tutorial, right, that we did on this video. Let's go back to that one. And I also need to save this one. Okay. File, save as. I'm going to my desktop, wireframe folder, and intersections folder, and I'll add my initials at the end. Or you can type in completed, save. And once again, you don't have to do all the intersections. Just show me that you did at least 1 or 2 intersections to get the full credit. But I know some of you want to do all of them and play around with it. Okay, but if you don't have the luxury of time, move on to the next tutorial. If later on you have time, or maybe after you complete this class, maybe down the line, sometime a few months later or next year, if you want to come back and practice your tutorials to become an expert, hey, go ahead and do it on the side while you're watching TV or relaxing watching the game. All right, so end of tutorial.